Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we're going to be learning about comments, these things in green in Visual Studio Code, and how we can use them to write pseudocode to essentially be a note to ourselves on how we want to implement something. Let's dive in and learn about these concepts. So, what is pseudocode? Pseudocode is, the dictionary definition is a plain language description of the steps that we're going to be using in an algorithm. So I want to write a plain language description of what we're planning to do to make this moving platform go backwards and forwards. Now, to do that, I could write it out on a piece of paper, but I could actually write it into my code without having to worry about making sure it's correct C++. And that is the whole point of pseudocode. But to do that, we need to know one more piece of the puzzle, which is, what is a comment? A comment is code that is ignored by the compiler. So it's a way of writing into our text file stuff for humans to read that the compiler will then ignore, and we can just use that to write pseudocode. We can use it to write notes to each other as programmers and to clarify what it is we're trying to do in a piece of code. So let's have a look at doing this over in the moving platform CPP in Tick. Now, a comment is basically any line that starts with a double forward slash. You can see that in Visual Studio Code, this automatically gets colored in green, and we can see examples of these green lines elsewhere in the C++ file. You can see it says fill out a copyright notice, it says sets default values, called while the game starts or when spawned, called every frame. So actually these comments are already helping us understand what's going on in this C++ file, and now we understand that these lines have no particular meaning to the compiler. In fact, as far as the compiler is concerned, one of the first things it does is just remove all comments from the file because it just doesn't need them. It ignores them when it's dealing with them and turning them into binary. So what we want to do is write out a little plan for how we are going to make our platform move backwards and forwards. So the first thing we're going to do is update the location of our platform. So move the platform forwards. So move platform forwards. And how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to use some indentation to show that this is how we're going to be moving the platform forwards. We're going to get its current location. Then we are going to add a vector to that current location. And that might be a good place for us to use a local variable because we don't want that intermediate result to be remembered at the class level. Then we're going to set that location. But what about sending the platform back? Well, let's have another comment here just at the indentation level below. We're going to send platform back if gone too far. So what we're going to have to do there is check how far we've moved, first of all. And if we've gone too far, we're going to reverse the direction of motion. So reverse direction of motion if gone too far. So here we have a very basic pseudocode description of what we're planning to do in the upcoming lectures. Please go ahead and add this to your own C++ file. You can use your own words to describe each step. This is just my interpretation of it. And because this isn't used by the compiler at all, it doesn't matter whether you have a typo or anything like that. The most important thing is that you just start each line with a double forward slash. Okay, I will see you in the next lecture.